So just first, I just want to thank you guys for coming, everybody that's here participating. This is our first series of Ask the Experts. So we're actually going to be hosting these every month. So I know next month we have lined up a photographer. We're going to have venues attending this, florists. And so if you're struggling to maybe find that perfect vendor for you, or, you're just struggling to know what questions to ask, whether it's your florist or your venue, come hang out. And this is just an awesome opportunity to, ask the people that do this every single weekend. We call them weekend warriors in the industry. For instance, today, Darron has done over 800 weddings. And so there's no one better to ask than a guy like this that has probably seen everything, to be completely honest. And so, just kind of set the stage of what the goal is here. Now, at the end of your planning process, we hope that you have no questions left and that you just feel comfortable coming into your wedding. And so, again, I don't know if you saw the email. This isn't a sales pitch. We're not asking you to choose Complete Weddings and Events at all. We're just simply here as a resource for you to make your planning experience awesome and easy and enjoyable. So just a list of questions. So as you're taking a look, it's hard, as couples come in and meet with us, the hardest thing is they say, we don't know what questions to ask. And so what I did is I went to the Knot and I just pulled their list of questions. And so feel free, as Darron introduces himself here in a few minutes, to look through these questions and see if there's something that maybe you haven't thought of. Feel free to unmute yourself and jump in and chirp and ask the question, or type that question to me, and I'll be the moderator. So I'll throw those questions at Darron as those come in. And so with no further ado, I want to give the stage to Darron. Go ahead and introduce yourself, buddy, and thanks for being here today, man.
All right. Thanks for having me. Well said, Don. Thanks. All right. So again, I'm DJ Darron Faison. And like you said, I've done, I guess about 800 weddings. I've been doing this for about 10 years. Like you said, I've seen a few things, have a few opinions. I've kind of designed the way that I do things. And so if you have any questions, just ask away.
Welcome, Nicola. We got another attendee. And so I just want to kind of give you the download as well. One, you don't have to show your video if you don't want to. You don't have to talk at all if you don't want to. You can certainly type your questions. What I did was I went to the Knot and just put all the questions they recommend couples ask their DJ. You don't have to use these, but if you're struggling to come up with some questions, maybe you came to the meeting today with some, there's no such thing as a dumb question. If you've thought about it, throw it at Darron. As we said, he's done over 800 weddings, and so there's no one better than Darron. So let's kind of break the ice here. So Darron, you've done over 800 weddings. Why do you still enjoy doing it?
Wow, great question. Just from the beginning, from the first wedding I did, and just seeing how happy everybody was, the loving atmosphere of a wedding. It just seems like the ultimate event to be at. So much care taking into, so much care and thought behind that date. And just to get there, everybody's really accepting, just to have a great time. And, and it's been like that for the past 10 years. That's why I still enjoy it. It's always a great time. I always enjoy pleasing the bride and groom. And of course, just partying, like you said, every weekend going out to party. I mean, that's amazing.
Maybe before we dive into some of these very specific questions, if you could take a step back and let's say your best friend was getting married and they weren't even using you as their DJ for their wedding, what's one piece of advice that you would give them now that you've seen so many couples, you've worked with so many couples through their planning, done so many receptions? What's one or two really good pieces of advice that you would tell your friends?
Oh man, one of the first things that I see when bride and grooms begin planning a wedding is they tend to put stress on themselves, worrying about what the tradition was, what they're supposed to do, what they're supposed to follow. my first thing is, I mean, if you really want it and you have a vision, go with that. That'll take a lot of stress off you as far as the planning. I mean, if it's something, if it can't happen, then it can't happen. But don't worry about what's traditional or can I do that or is that what you're supposed to do? So definitely going in with that mindset will take some stress off you with the planning process.
So maybe in the last 12 months, and I'm just throwing some questions out there as those of you that are attending kind of start to get your brains in the right space of asking questions here and collect your thoughts. What in the last 12 months, you know, especially being in South Florida, what are some newer trends that you have seen, Darron, that maybe weren't being done at weddings 2 or even 3 years ago?
Wow. I've noticed the trend. Well, I'll say they've done it a few years ago, but I see the trend going more towards a more laid back wedding. And when I say that, people, they just want to party. They say, you know, I don't want to be too stuck on these formalities. I don't want to spend too much time here. I don't want that stuffy feeling. So people tend to go just more laid back. They come to me, they say, hey, I want to party. Make it a lounge, make it a club, you know, whatever their style is. That seems to be the trend as far as the style of weddings.
That's good. All right, I do want to, since we've been on here for a few minutes, you know, open it up. Feel free to type me a question or unmute yourself and, you know, go ahead and ask some questions. So I don't want to hold you back. That's why we're having this.
So I'll start off with a question, DJ Darron. So I've been to some weddings where everyone is just sitting there and it's just super awkward. And I noticed that one of the questions is on there, but what do you do to read the crowd, especially if it's a mixed crowd? Like I recently went to a wedding and it was very 50-50, very split. Like you had the young group that just wanted to fist pump and shake the booty. And then you had the older, more conservative crowd. And I mean, I noticed that some of the older folks would get very angry and agitated when the younger group or the livelier group was, you know, starting to, you know, to get a little rowdy. So, so I guess the question would be, you know, what do you do to read a crowd and try to placate to a mixed audience?
Oh, wow. Trust me, the older folks, they definitely come to me and tell me. So it's not just you that see it. So they'll let me know. But over time, well, I mean, I read the crowd is basically where I start. I really just, I go in taking into account that it's going to be a mixed crowd. So even like talking to you beforehand, you know, your crowd, I'm going to ask you about your, you know, your family, the older folks, who's coming, you know, are they going to need a lot of encouragement? Do I need to get out there, or are they a party crowd? Do I just need to play the right songs? But of course it starts with reading the crowd, the right, you know, just really playing the right music. And when needed, man, I'll get out there and lead those line dances, you know, and usually when I bring that energy, somebody's going to get up. So we're going to leave with a great party. So.
So if you see that that the party's a little bit slower to get going, that's typically what you'll do is get out on the floor and maybe start a line dance or something if people are just kind of sitting. And
exactly what I'll do, and to your comfort level, again, just talking to you about it. I mean, games, it just really depends on the crowd, but yeah, whatever needs to be done to get people up, just from just bringing my energy, just encouraging people, as opposed to just trying to actually pull people out their seats or something like that. I've actually seen that happen. I'm like, no, but just interjecting my energy in there as much as needed without, you know, just being a ham. You know, I don't want to be on the mic more than I need to be. But if I need to be, yes, I get out there in front of everyone. I'll start dancing. You know, I'll bring that energy if needed. I'll get out there and start that cha-cha. Come on, everybody, you know?
Now, the next question, can we see a sample of that, please?
There may be some stuff out there. Or you want me to do it right now? All right, maybe on the next pod we'll do a party. I'll lead some dances. We'll turn this thing into a whole party. But I'm sure there's definitely some. I'm out there, so I'm sure there's some clips out there of me on the dance floor doing my thing and stuff like that.
Awesome. Great questions, Shira. How about some others? Are there any burning questions you would love to ask right now?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Nicola.
Thank you. I noticed, I see it here. Can you play the songs that are important to us as traditional Jewish music, it says here, but other types of genre?
Oh yeah, of course. I think
we're going to be a mixed couple. I'm Jamaican, he's American. How would you handle that?
Okay. Which is a common thing, South Florida. I even came up with a term. I call it South Florida style mixing.
Okay.
That seems to be the thing here. I'm very familiar, you know, mixing between the Latin and this and that. But again, bringing it back, it foremost starts with me meeting with you and you filling out forms and just that back and forth and letting me know what music that you want to hear and what you're expecting. And of course, that important music you need to be played, that's the most important music that I'm going to put in my set list that I make sure gets played. And then I come in and fill in between, you know. But as far as the genres go, being here in South Florida, yeah, I've become very familiar with that style of mixing the different genres and things like that, from the Caribbean to, of course, the American music, back to your classics, Motowns and things like that, just to make everybody pleased.
Yeah, we're in the same boat. I'm Jewish, and then my father-in-law is African American, and my mother-in-law is Puerto Rican. So all the parents and all the grandparents want to be represented with their traditions and religions.
Yeah. Again, yeah, I'm familiar with a lot of that. And even if it's something I'm not, you know, I take care to really listen to what needs to be done and how you expect that, I'll respect what you need there especially with religious ceremonies and things like that. I'll definitely listen to make sure that goes off without a hitch with respect. But yeah, I love it, man. Like I said, going back to that South Florida style, when I think about it, I kind of, just being here has made me that kind of DJ, just traveling to different states and things like that, DJ, and talking to different DJs. It's definitely a different style down here to what we do.
Awesome. LaToya, I think you had a question as well.
No, that was our question. Like, just to piggyback, we are like two different when it comes down to music. I'm more Megan Thee Stallion. He's more Al Green. So, I just wanted to like, will you be able to compliment the both of us?
Exactly, yeah. Get them slow jams so he can, get his grind on, his slow dances on. And then, he can go and then you can turn up. So yeah.
I like to turn up. So yeah, that was my question. But then I also see another one on here. Can you act as a master of ceremony also?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
These are some good questions.
So maybe talk about that a little bit, Darren. Like, what does that mean? Because I help a lot of couples plan their wedding, and sometimes they think that the MC and the DJ are two different people.
Yeah, I guess they can be, but no, most of the time the DJ is the MC. That's how I do it. So as far as MCing, that means I'm pretty much controlling your wedding. I'm kind of your planner there. I'm your host. I'm all of that. So from everything from when it's time to introduce you into the room, I'm announcing names. I'm letting the crowd know what's happening. I'm hyping them up. Transitioning into your first dances. Again, I'm announcing that. I'm letting everybody know what's happening. I'm keeping everybody informed all the way through dinner, cake cutting, all that stuff. And then when it's time to party, I'm interjecting myself when needed as well. So that's the basis of what the master ceremony does. We could go into more detail. I can do more or less, again, based on your style, what you expect, You know, some people really want me more laid back and just get into the mix and play the music. And some people are like, no, Darron, get out there, man. Get out there, do that cha-cha, do this, do that, get everybody hyped. So I can get with that too.
I have another question. DJ
Yes.
Darron, do you take requests from the guests?
I do.
Okay.
And just nice about it, of course, sometimes there's a song or two that won't, you know, fit. Sometimes people even try to be funny, but, you know, with discretion, I'll definitely do my best to get that song in there.
Okay.
Because again, that goes back to me just pleasing everybody, making sure everybody has a good time. Since, you know, it's a wedding. It's not like a club or a specific place that they're going. You know, everybody has a different taste. So it's really, you have to be aware of that.
Awesome.
Now, do you have a do not playlist though? So like, what if, like, for example, we're not huge country fans, or like we're not really into the hokey pokey or twist and shout, you know, and what if one of our guests comes up there and wants, you know, some country line dance, or, you know, wants like some oldies music or something like that that we're not into?
Okay. Well, you asking about my do not playlist or your do not playlist? Because I got a lot of country on mine. No, on my
I'm
must
not
playlist.
hating on country, you know.
I'm kidding. But no, of course, it's your do not playlist. You're gonna tell me that that again, that communication and really just getting a feel for what you're expecting. And yeah, you tell me. I don't want to do that hokey pokey. We'll have to talk about that country, but yeah. No, I get it.
Darron, how about so the tradition these days is very non-traditional ceremonies. So as a DJ, are you finding that you're more involved now in the ceremony and the reception? And if so, what does that look like, and how do you help maybe the couple through both of those events now?
That's a good question. As far as the ceremonies go, definitely it's a lot of your first weddings. You've never planned a ceremony, so I'm definitely here to lend a hand as far as when you're picking the music for your ceremony. So that's traditionally, you know, when I began and over the past years, that's traditionally really what it's been. Just help me choose the music that I'm going to walk down to, or what should I do with, you know, what should I exit to, and things like that. And I kind of put you in that direction. Now, as far as more involvement with ceremonies these days, people are having more fun with the music. Play this, switch this song out, act like you know. So that's, you know, pretty much been my involvement there. But I make sure your ceremony, you know, I'm setting that up. I make sure it goes without a hitch. So when you're getting ready and you're out there, you don't have to worry about the officiant or anything like that being ready to go. I already made sure that's checked, ready to go. I already know what songs everybody's going to walk out to. So I'm going to coordinate with you on that as far as my involvement with the ceremony.
I have a question. Darron, is it just you, or do you have a team that helps with this?
Well, it's just me. It's a team when needed.
Okay.
I guess it really just depends on what I'm bringing, how big is your event, how far I need to move equipment, things like that. But most of the time, it's just me.
Okay.
And Latoya, are you talking specifically at your wedding? Does he come and set up, perform the wedding, and tear down by himself?
Yes.
Okay.
And to be specific, yeah, just my stuff, yeah. As far as the DJ goes, my equipment, my setup, yeah, I'm able to come and set that up myself.
Okay.
Now it's, you know, nowadays it's a little more compact, and I'm able to do that. But if needed, if you have a bigger crowd, again, it really comes down to discussing what type of package you need. You might need extra speakers, or you might throw on additional lighting and things like that. And then that's when you have more crew coming out to help as far as the setup and things like that.
DJ Darron, for the ceremony, do you provide the microphone and the speakers, or is that on the officiant in the officiant and the couple to take care of?
Yeah.
Excuse
If you have me,
all that.
oh, I'm sorry, you were breaking up a little bit, so I think I might have cut you off. But I think what I heard was you were asking if I provide these speakers, basically the equipment for the ceremony.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. If you have me do your ceremony, then yes, that comes with it.
So to break things up a little bit, just because I always enjoy some entertainment, what's the craziest memory or thing you've seen at a reception that just, you know, when you do 800 weddings, come on, you see a little bit of different, unique things.
Okay, we can go crazy. I mean, I did a wedding off the beach, and let's just say it was such a good time that some dresses and things came off, and we were running on the beach having a good day. Well, no, I'm sorry, I said they.
I was like, we?
No, that was a bad choice of words. That was a bad choice of words. No, I'm, you know, having that might have been the craziest, but some of the best things I've seen, like, it's like when like grandma gets out there on the dance floor or something, and people are like, what is this? Like, we never saw grandma do this. I've seen that a couple of times. And grandma's getting down and busting out moves that nobody had any idea.
So thinking about, you know, things happen, right? And people get sick, right? Maybe you get in a car accident the day of the wedding, or something tragic happens, you know, a death in the family. What happens when that, you know, just to maybe give a couple of peace of mind if they were to ask you that question?
I'm sorry, could you rephrase? Could you say the question again?
Yeah, I mean, let's say you get sick or a car accident or a death in the family the day of the event, and you honestly cannot be there to perform the wedding.
Right.
What happens then?
Well, I always have some trained DJs to back me up in that case.
Okay.
It would be unfortunate.
Do you have a team?
Yeah, I definitely have a team of people.
Okay.
Team of DJs. Luckily, it hasn't happened. I did have to miss one wedding, and that was for the birth of my daughter. So in all the 20 years that I've been doing it was for that. And I have no kids on the way right now or no time soon, so we're good.
So maybe talk us through that process. You know, congrats to the birth of your daughter, but how did you quickly and smoothly transition all of these details you've talked to with the couple? How did you transition that to the new DJ that they had never met?
Oh, it worked out well because I worked with this DJ before. I tend to get other DJs, work with them, kind of train them on what I do, see what they do. So they're already kind of familiar with what I do. And it was really an easy transition beyond, you know, of course, the disappointment of me not being there. The transition was smooth because I was so organized. I had everything. I had the timeline, I had music, and I had everything for him. So I just sent that over to him. He saw the music, the song, you know, special songs. It might have been a couple like special edits or something like that. I just threw them in the Google Drive and gave him everything, and then kind of discuss with him what I had already discussed with the client, what I had planned on doing, and then I handed them off to the bride and groom. Of course, after, you know, talking to the bride and groom and discussing what happened and why I wouldn't be able to make it.
No, I mean, God forbid that would happen, but I think it's always in the back of every customer's mind, like,
it is.
You are human, and what if something happens, you know?
Yeah.
Let's piggyback off of that, and then we'll open it back up for some other questions. You know, being that we are in South Florida, there's weather that happens, and I'm sure you've been through some storms and hurricanes. How did you go about working with your couples to maybe reschedule those events and make them know that you were still going to be there for them?
Man, honestly, I think thinking about the past, they've all gone smooth because everybody's understanding South Florida, you know, these venues, things like that. They're all used to hurricanes. In the past, that's what it's been. And it's just been reschedules. You know, I assure you that I'll do my best because you hired me, you wanted me to be at your wedding. So for your rescheduled date, I'll make sure I'll do my best to be there for your reschedule. And that's what's happened in the past. I've just worked with them to find a better date, um, you know, after they did a back and forth with the venue maybe or something like that.
Awesome. I've got lots of questions to throw at Darron, but it's not about me.
Who else has any questions?
So I'm having a formal
DJ
wedding.
Darron.
Oh,
Go ahead, Shira. Is that you?
Oh. So I do day of coordination on the side, and I've worked with a lot of different types of DJs. So I'm wondering, I know from my end, the easiest and smoothest and most successful weddings that I've coordinated have all had to do with my relationship and communication with the DJ. So my question to you is, from your perspective and perception, the other way around, what's been your experience working with weddings that either have a day of coordinator or don't, and how does your role differ under those two different circumstances?
Oh man, I mean, it's always smoother with the day of coordinator there to, you know, kind of just help you out and make sure you're sticking that timeline and things like that, or putting out any fires. But as far as, it works out best, I think, with my relationship with I try to ask as many questions as possible beforehand. You know, I try to get that relationship to you beforehand, a couple weeks before your wedding. That way, the day of, I'm not trying to like figure stuff out, who you are or what you expect, you know? So again, that couple of weeks, I think, is very important for us to talk, discuss the music. Again, you know, what's your grandma like to listen to? Is your groom shy? Does he want to have fun? You know, just really just opening that relationship up. I think that makes a successful wedding. And then beyond that, when the day of coordinator takes over, it's smooth. And then, oh, I'm sorry, and not to leave you out as the day of coordinator. Of course, it's coordinating with you. You know, I'll get there, and just kind of go everything immediately. You know, that way, again, we're not figuring out of course, we'll, you know, communicate throughout the night, but we're not figuring out everything on the fly. You know, we already have a game plan set of where everything's gonna go. Did that answer your question? I might have went off on a little tangent there, but that was a great question.
Great question. So being that these couples haven't officially got married yet, Darron, when you look back at the weddings that went very smoothly versus the ones that didn't run smoothly, what do you think was the biggest reason for those that maybe didn't go as planned, or what you had met about with the couple? I'll be the guy that asks the hard questions to make it easy on everybody.
Yeah, because I mean, I can't remember a wedding that I've been at that didn't go smoothly ever. No.
Oh.
No.
I promise I did not set that question up.
I mean, when have I ever? No. I think just like lack of communication, and not even on my part. I've seen it like a photographer. They might not have pulled this photographer for somewhere that they didn't really communicate well with, that we have to like kind of fix some issues with. So communication is the simplest thing that I think, as far as a successful wedding. I've had some brides and grooms I've had a successful wedding where the bride was like, you know, hands off and, you know, do your thing. But I've also had some weddings where they were expecting a lot of things and they didn't communicate that. So communication. definitely is the best thing. And I don't know. And me as your DJ, is that fair to throw that in?
So talk about, maybe define communication a little bit, because they haven't been through this. Are you talking about communication the day of the wedding,
Before,
prior to the wedding?
Prior. That's where the problem comes, trying to communicate these things the day of, trying to figure out the stuff day of. These things need to be, you know, of course there's going to be, you know, things that might pop up that you don't even think about, that, you know, those little things happen. And most of the times those are little things that can be fixed on the fly. But I think the major things that happen that make, put a hitch in the weddings, it's just that pre-communication beforehand. You know, nobody didn't communicate what they really wanted here. And not necessarily with the bride and groom, you know, maybe the photographer didn't communicate what, you know, didn't set expectations correctly. Maybe it was somebody else, you know? So I think those type of things throw a big hitch in the wedding. When you show up that day, you know, you walk in a room or you walk into a situation, it's a little more stressful. It's a little more harder to try to correct that day of, you know, because it's a lot of stress on you, you know.
So what does that communication look like in the days and weeks leading up to the wedding between you and the couple?
Yeah, I think too, like some couples could be laid back. If your vendor is not talking to you or not like asking you questions, then you need to ask them questions. You know, you need to be wary of that. You need to be like, hey, you know, don't you want to know where to meet me? You know, you're going to call, you get what I'm saying? Those things that if you realize that you haven't discussed those things, you need to start talking to them and open them up as far as communication. I mean, I can go down into detail as far as timeline, this and that, but I think, you know, those things get discussed, but I think it's really like what you expect, what you envision. Hey, I wanted a picture of my dress. And even with the DJ, hey, I expected you to play those songs in that order. Where it's like, well, you know, I mean, well, I saw these songs on the list, I didn't know. But had I communicated with you, you would have told me that, instead of me just assuming that maybe you just threw those songs on there to play that you wanted it in no certain order. So simple things like that as far as communication, you know.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot here because nothing ever goes quite as planned, right? So
right.
We're getting ready for some specialty dances here, and this particular couple wanted to do the father-daughter dance. We can't find dad, but the photographer's over here hustling you because it's time for the cake cutting, because we got to get these cake cutting pictures in, because the catering company wants to cut the cake so that it's ready after dinner. How are you going to handle that stressful situation when we're trying to get the father-daughter dance ready, the cake cutting to happen, and the cake cut for after dinner? Everybody comes to you because you're the DJ, right?
Right. And I feel like if that messes up and everybody's coming to me and everything goes wrong, it's going to come back to me too. So again, that's where it comes back to, sometimes I feel like I'm not your day of coordinator, but as your MC, as your DJ, I am making sure these things go off without a hitch. Like you said, these people are naturally coming to me. Now, when they do come to me, again, I mean, with my experience, I just calm everybody down and I let them know, hey, this is what's happening. This is what we need to do. If it's a time overrun, hey, can you give me an extra 5 minutes so we can get this cake cutting in? Can you do this for me? You know, just kind of negotiate with the photographer, you know, and let them know what's happening and that I do know that we need to get this done, and pretty much just come up with a game plan. So, because everybody you know, the photographer, he doesn't want to miss his shot because he thinks you're going to get upset with him. The venue's like, no, we got to get the cake because they're going to be upset. So everybody wants to please you. So it turns into kind of that, you know, they're not being selfish on purpose or trying to be like, oh no, we have to do this. They really just want to please you. So that's when I kind of step in and just say, okay, look, give me 2 minutes to do this. Give me 5 minutes to do this. Let me talk to the bride. Let me find dad. And when I do that, they're at ease and they're like, okay, the DJ's got it. He's not going to leave us hanging. He's not going to throw us under the bus where it looks like that we didn't do our job.
Awesome. Great answer.
Thanks.
Well, we've had a lot of questions. I obviously want to be respectful of your time, whether you're here live or watching this playback. Are there any other questions? I don't want to leave today without you getting to ask a question.
I'd like to discuss one of the questions I see here. How many hours are included in the package? Now, is the setup and breakdown taken out of the hours? How does that work?
Oh, simple, no. The setup and breakdown is not part of I'm sorry, the setup and breakdown is always included. You're not charged for that. As far as the amount of hours, I think that'd be like a Don question, as far as what you decide, what you need or what you get as far as a package, a wedding package.
So for instance, if we have like a 5-hour package or a 6-hour package, I've heard in some cases where if the event is supposed to go until midnight, the DJ is packing up at 11:30.
I have heard that. I haven't
Yes.
personally seen a DJ do that. It's crazy that I have heard that. But no, that's not included. If your wedding's till 12, you're getting your packages till 12, and then that breakdown, that's on us. We're not nitpicking on the times and things like that.
Good question. So do you meet with the couple in advance, in person? Do you do that over the phone? I know we've been talking a lot about communication, but since that's the biggest reason why an event may not go smoothly, what does that usually look like before the event?
Nowadays, it's mostly phone, video, and then from time to time at the office, which I'm open for all of it. But usually people get a feel for me over the phone, and I think even more so nowadays doing the video.
Awesome.
People are comfortable with that. They get a feel for me. But if they need further, like, no, I really just, I feel more comfortable meeting you. I got to get to know you. Then yes, I'll sit down and meet with you at the office.
Is that a one-time consult, or do you have other sessions throughout the period if required?
As far as the booking process or the planning?
Planning process.
Oh yeah, the planning, we will definitely answer any questions you have throughout that process. Yes. And then as we get closer to your wedding, it gets more aggressive, I would say.
Okay.
But yeah.
And to add to that, Nicola, whether you choose us or someone else, because it's not about Complete on this episode, but if you did work with Complete, like with our team, we have event managers on our team that are dedicated to your event, that are there for you full time through that 9 to 12 months. Now, when we get within 30 days, that's when you start making direct connection, those 2 weeks before the wedding with that DJ and that photographer.
Okay, gotcha.
Communicating with the DJ and photographer for 9 or 12 months actually is a hindrance to your event.
Yeah, it's too much.
Because there's no way they remember all of those details, right? And so that's the event manager's job if you were to work with Complete.
Got you. Okay.
LaToya, I think you were ready to chirp again.
Yes, I have 2 questions. My first one is, do you have another wedding gig before or after? Or like how many gigs are you booking a day?
Oh, weddings? One.
One, okay. And then my second question was, what are your pet peeves besides lack of communication?
My pet peeves, man, that's a good question. I don't know. I would say lack of communication. I think that's pretty much it. But let me ask you, say pet peeve specifically with that I have with the planning, can you expand? Like, what are you thinking now?
So as I read the question, it was like too many songs on the playlist, parents asking too many suggestions,
okay.
things like that.
I see what you're saying. No, I don't think any of those things are pet peeves. I think it's a good time to like inform you, you know, just like those things you mentioned that's on that list you just saw. Like, yeah, too many songs. It's not a pet peeve, but it will be an opportunity to come to you and say, hey, just, you know, let me explain to you why you shouldn't do this or why you should lean this song list down or stuff like that. But I think like you said, I don't think I have any other pet peeves that I could think of right now.
Well, hey, I thank you all for being here, and whether you're live or not, and Darron, you're awesome for being here as well and taking the time out of your busy schedule and your family. And yeah, like I said, this is our first session, and next month will be photography. And like I said, we're going to bring in florists and caterers. And so really, hopefully by the time your wedding happens, you'll have had a lot of sessions like this to where you can just get the confusion out of the way, right? We're here to be a resource for you and make this process super easy. You know, you've never done this before, and there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of vendors that you have to work with. And being that our team's been doing this since 1974, we're not saying you need to choose complete, but we can be a great resource for you. And so, thanks for participating. You all are awesome. At the end of the day, here's the thing. Have fun. Relax. Enjoy yourselves. 10 years from now, what you're going to look back and remember is if you had fun, right? If you had the best time of your life. And just to keep things in perspective amidst all the craziness. And so it's a good time. It's supposed to be an enjoyable process with a little bit of stress, right? And so thank you for coming, and we're going to end this. And I'll also send out the recording of this if you guys maybe missed something or want to review that. But you were awesome, and enjoy the rest of your week.